Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this important conversation we're having today. Like we said, Mr. President set up the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee August 2023 with a very clear mandate. Our economy is underperforming. We're not growing enough, poverty is widespread, and we do not have inclusive and sustainable growth, and there can be what we call shared prosperity unless we address those issues. While we face a myriad of issues, the fiscal system, including taxation, clearly is one major area. And if I want to summarize it, I will say that the fiscal and tax system is like the knee on the neck of our economic prosperity as a people. It's important to state that the primary objective for these reforms is not to generate more revenue, because I see people get that wrong every time. It is to fix the economy in a way that there can be shared prosperity. If your businesses are growing, expanding within and outside the shores of this country, if our individuals are earning income and thriving, then taxes will be a natural consequence of that prosperity. That is really the fundamental objective of the reforms. So we know that the work we were asked to do for our country is such an enormous amount of work, but really very critical and important. If we were going to take all our time, we would have asked for about 4 or 5 years. We knew Nigeria has no luxury of time. We decided we should put in all our efforts to get this done within 1 year. And I can say to you, in that 1 year, we have over 100 members, including more than 40 students across 22 universities in Nigeria. We're represented by people from all the geopolitical zones, government institutions, private sector, trade organizations, and so on and so forth. We're working every single day. There were days that we're having meetings until late midnight because you can see Nigerians who love their country. They're passionate about their country and they can't wait for us to start fixing these problems. One of the deliverables of this work is the realization that we have tax laws that are very old and no longer fit for purpose, including those we inherited from our colonial masters. So we said we'll use the opportunity of this reform to rewrite those laws. So they are the laws made by Nigerians for Nigeria to be able to drive our prosperity going forward. And that's what led to the 4 bills that we have before the National Assembly today that Sheon had properly summarized. In terms of the benefits of those bills, I will quickly just read through them. So for households and individuals, including our young population, these bills are looking to exempt low-income earners completely from tax, those who earn about 83,000 naira per month or 1 million naira a year. It will reduce the PAYE for middle-income earners of about 1.7 million naira per month or below will pay less taxes. Combined, these two is reducing the tax burden on more than 90% of workers in both private and public sector. There will be 0% VAT, no VAT on food, more than 600 food items, on healthcare, on education. We do not want our people to have to decide between buying garri to give their kid and buying pencil or eraser for them to go to school. There will be 0% VAT on electricity generation and transmission, and there will be VAT exemption on transportation, on renewable energy, CNG, baby product, sanitary towels, rent, and fuel products. These items constitute more than 4 out of 5 consumption by the average household. If you go down the ladder of society, this is where they spend almost the entire money that they earn because they don't earn a lot. In other words, our most vulnerable and poorest citizens will not have to worry about VAT. But so we can balance the books. On non-essential items, that those of us who are not so poor tend to consume a lot, we are adjusting the VAT rate upward to partly compensate for what government will lose by granting exemption to the majority of consumption by our population. There will be tax break for wage award and transport subsidy to low-income earners. There will be tax incentive for the employers who create more employment so they can employ more people. There will be exemption of stamp duties on rent of about 10 million naira actually, or less. There will be PAYE exemption on our armed forces who are fighting insecurity. There will be friendly rules for remote workers as well as digital nomads. We want Nigerians in Nigeria to get jobs within the international business process outsourcing so they can earn dollars while they stay here. They don't have to make that difficult choice of relocating abroad. There will also be clarity on taxation of digital assets, including how to avoid double taxation and allowing people who play in that sector to get deduction when they make losses. For small businesses, there will be increase in tax exemption threshold. Currently, 25 million is exempt. We are moving that to 50 million, partly to recognize the devaluation and depreciation of the naira. There will be exemption of income tax for small businesses. They will pay 0% companies income tax. There will be exemption from withholding tax, also for small businesses. They don't have to charge withholding tax, neither do they have to deduct it on their vendors. There will be exemption for them in terms of deducting withholding tax from their vendors. They will not have to account for VAT when they invoice their customers. They will have the opportunity of simplified accounts that does not have to be audited to reduce the cost of doing business for them should they have to file returns. There will be the office of the tax ombudsman to protect these people when they are being harassed by tax officers. They cannot defend themselves. They do not have the money to afford lawyers. Neither can they go through the court process. They will be protected under these bills. Tax disputes escalated to the tax ombuds will be resolved within 14 days. Should the tax authority not cooperate, the law says that the dispute will be resolved in the favor of the taxpayer. There will be harmonization of taxes and repeal of multiple taxes, over 50 of them, placing burden on the most vulnerable small businesses and poor population. These bills plan to outlaw cash payments of taxes as well as physical roadblocks. We are in 2024. We should not have to put nails on wood and throw it on the road to collect taxes. We are more than that. We are better than that. There will be the opportunity for small businesses to formalize their businesses should they want to grow and scale, which is what we want for them. Today, the tax provisions discourages formalization because you are punished. You pay twice as much the tax. These bills are fixing that problem. For businesses and investments, these bills are proposing the reduction of companies' income tax rate from 30% to 25% over the next 2 years. It proposing harmonizing various earmarked taxes from education tax to engineering and science to information technology to police trust fund, and the list goes on, that businesses have to pay. When businesses have to pay almost more than 80% of their profit, it is not surprising that more businesses are not being set up. And those that were set up before are beginning to think twice, either exiting or scaling down their operations. These bills will introduce economic development incentive and priority sector for us to grow the sectors that are important to our economy so there can be shared prosperity. These bills will provide friendly tax regime for restructuring and reorganization of businesses. Today, if you have a group of companies and you decide to restructure them, you have to face huge tax bills in trying to make your businesses efficient. These bills would address that. There will be clarity that when you run your business, the taxman cannot just show up and say, we want to audit you for 15 years. Statute of limitation will be clearly stated, can only be exceeded where there is deliberate misstatement of your affairs. In other words, you need to be honest in your affairs. There will be faster refunds. Many companies today have billions of naira that is stuck with the tax authority. They cannot get the refund, and they're borrowing at 40% to run their businesses. That does not make sense. These bills will address that problem. We also have provisions for companies that need certainties to ask for requests for ruling from the tax authority, and for that response to be provided within 21 days. And if any new startup incur costs while they are starting to start up their business, any costs they incur within 6 years before they commence their business will be tax deductible, because we think that we should not punish them for taking the risk to want to start a business. This is one of the reasons why countries like the US is so successful. They support their investors, they support their entrepreneurs to take risks, and when those people succeed, the country can then share out of it. That was why Mr. President said during the inauguration, we will stop taxing capital. We will not tax investment. We do not want to tax production. We do not want to tax poverty. Of course, we do not want to tax seed. We will wait, invest with the Nigerian people, and tax the fruits. If you borrow to run your business, you will no longer be punished, except you borrow from a related party and the terms are suspicious. For the subnational government, what do we have in these bills for them? The federal government will give 5% of its share of VAT revenue to states. The federal government has also agreed that electronic money transfer that is being shared today between federal, state, and local government should go to the state 100%. It's also in the bills. This bill will repeal the old stamp duty law of 1939 before Nigeria got independence and introduce a new stamp duty law that is broad-based, easy to collect, and all the revenue coming from that will go to the state 100%. These bills also assign the taxing right for limited liability partnership to go to the state, not the federal government, giving them more resources to run the affairs of the subnational. These bills will also allow states to enjoy tax exemption should they issue bonds. Today, federal government bond is tax exempt. State government bond is not tax exempt. These bills are trying to correct that inequity. We must recognize that this is a federation and we must empower the subnational. A more equitable formula for sharing VAT to recognize where the income is, where the consumption takes place, and so on and so forth. I know that Shim is trying to remind me my time is up. We had an engagement with tax professionals and CFOs. These are the most knowledgeable stakeholders we have because they deal with these issues. After our engagement with them, where we had over 3,000 online and offline, guess what? For all the participants that participated in person, the approval rate is 100%. For those who participate online, watching the recorded session, 92%. For those who did not participate at all, but have been reading what we have been putting out, approval rate is 76%. Overall, Nigerians who support these reforms holistically are over 90%. And the areas where we have disputes, conversations, controversies, are the issues we can iron out. These bills have more than 200 transformative provisions to fix our country and set us on the right path to prosperity. We should not allow one or two provisions that we can easily discuss and agree on to become the pain or the bottleneck. So thank you very much.